There was a time I felt like those shepherds, like a nobody. Somebody who was so broken and felt like incapable of being used by God. You guys all know, growing up with deep insecurity about my crooked appearance, where my right eye is lower than my left eye, I often felt unseen and alone. There was a time when I joined a professional worship team at a young age. I was the youngest in the team, just as how maybe Lillian or Elizabeth are youngest in the worship team here. By the way, great job leading worship, Lillian. And everyone else in the worship team were already established professional musicians. And nobody was my age. I was the only minor there, a high school kid. Also, back then, I was not social. You guys are going like, you were not social? Yeah, I was not. I was very quiet and contemplative, hiding in my own shell. Now, factoring all of these in, the setting and my insecurity and my personality of not being social, antisocial, not talkative, introverted, I felt very isolated at that time. And I remember sitting alone, eating by myself in an empty table, while others sat, ate, and laughed together on a table right beside mine. That loneliness eventually turned into resentment toward others and even toward God. And I told you the story, and by the time I went to college and became more independent, I walked away from my faith for about a year. But in that season, God met me with this truth, which changed my life in a completely 180 degrees opposite trajectory, which was this truth. When I am loneliest, God is closest. Do you believe that or remember that in your personal lives too? When you are loneliest, that's exactly the moment when God is most closest to you. He reminded me, Brian, at the time when you're sitting alone on the table, when you felt the most alone, actually, spiritually speaking, was most closest to you right at that moment. When everyone overlooked you, disregarded you, that's the moment I was staring at you most intensely. Now that truth restored me. That's redemption, restoration. That was back in 2010. I repented. I wept, sobbed so much. I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry. And God healed something deep inside me then, 2010 March. I still remember. My life has never been the same afterwards. I've been walking the path of the truth faithfully because of His grace in my life. So I turned my back to the world, from the negative narratives of my ego and sin. I turned to Jesus and have never been the same afterwards. I kept straining forward, and here I am now, even as a pastor. And the very weakness I once... So that's what God was doing. I was like this broken cup, and God was saying, I'm going to use you. You know, when you're loneliest, that's when I'm closest to you to restore you. And the very weakness I once hated, where I felt insecure, I was antisocial, actually became the place where God grew compassion in my heart for others. So whenever, this is like almost like my fixation now. Whenever I was noticed someone neglected and alone, sitting at a table by him or herself, like, I can't stand that. I need to reach out to them. I feel compassion for them because I experienced that same pain before. And the pain that I had has now been redeemed and restored for a much more beautiful purpose. So I started giving my attention to those who are isolated, and it built my character. Eventually, I became more social and outgoing, more relational. You would not have imagined this 20 years ago if you saw me. Just ask my high school friends. Brian, he became a pastor? How can he become a pastor? I became more relational. And the very weakness I had became my most valued strength now. And all of these is thanks to God alone. That's redemption.